Have you ever prayed for something so long, it started to feel like maybe God wasn't listening? You knock and knock and knock, but the door stays shut. You believe with all your heart, but the silence feels deafening. You hold on, but your hands are getting tired. If that's where you are, you're not alone. Persistent faith is not flashy. It's not always loud. It doesn't always feel strong, but it's one of the most powerful things you can ever carry. It's what gets you out of bed on the 100th day of no change. It's what keeps you lifting your hands in worship with tears in your eyes. It's what whispers, God is still good, even when nothing makes sense. Faith is not just something we visit when we're desperate. Persistent faith is a daily posture, a lifestyle. It's the kind of faith that clings to God through storms, silence, and waiting. It's the kind of faith that doesn't give up, even when God seems quiet. The Bible is filled with men and women who walk this path. Their stories are not always flashy, but they are powerful. Take the story of the Canaanite woman in Matthew 15. She wasn't a part of Israel. She wasn't supposed to receive the blessing. But she came to Jesus, desperate for her daughter to be healed. Jesus didn't answer her at first. Then he said, "It is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dogs." Most people would have walked away at that point. But she didn't. She leaned in even harder. "Yes, Lord, yet even the little dogs eat the crumbs which fall from their master's table." And Jesus responded, "O woman, great is your faith." Persistent faith pushes through silence. It presses through delay. It wrestles past offense. It doesn't shrink when the answer isn't instant. It stands firm. It keeps knocking. It keeps asking. It keeps believing. There's something about persistence that moves the heart of God. Not because He's reluctant, but because He wants our faith to grow deeper. Persistent faith transforms us. It's not just about getting what we want. It's about becoming who God wants us to be. Think about Abraham. God gave him a promise. He would be the father of many nations. But year after year passed, still no child. Abraham got older, Sarah got older, and still no child. But Romans 4 tells us something incredible. It says, Abraham did not waver at the promise of God through unbelief. That even when his body was as good as dead, he believed. That's persistent faith. Faith that doesn't check the calendar. Faith that doesn't panic over the odds. Faith that rests on God's character. There's a secret hidden in waiting. In delay, we meet God in ways we never would if everything came quickly. Delay doesn't mean denial. It's a space where God does His deepest work in us. One woman shared her story of battling cancer. For years, she believed for healing. There were good days. There were terrifying days. And there were long stretches of silence. She said the hardest part wasn't the pain. It was not knowing if God was listening. But she kept showing up. She kept praying. She kept trusting. And in that waiting, her faith grew roots. She learned to love God not just for what He could do, but for who He was. Eventually, she was healed. But the real miracle, she said, was what happened inside her. God gave her persistent faith. Faith that could endure the valley. Faith that wouldn't let go. James 1:4 tells us, "Let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing." Persistent faith shapes our character. it develops spiritual endurance. It teaches us to rely on God in every season. Even Jesus told a story about persistence. In Luke 18, he spoke about a widow. She went to a judge who didn't fear God or care about people. But she kept coming, day after day, again and again. Eventually, the judge gave her justice, not because he cared, but because he was worn down by her persistence. Jesus said, "Will not God bring about justice for his chosen ones who cry out to him day and night?" Persistent faith keeps crying out. Not because we think God is stubborn, but because we believe he is good. We believe he hears, we believe he answers. Sometimes we think faith means never struggling. But real faith struggles well. It wrestles honestly. It cries out in the dark, but it refuses to quit. There was a young man who prayed for his father's salvation for 30 years. He was tempted to stop. He had moments of doubt, but every night he prayed. Every birthday he believed. Then one day, out of the blue, his father called and said, "Tell me about this Jesus." That moment came after 3 decades of silent sowing. Faith had been working in the unseen. Persistent faith sows even when nothing seems to grow. It waters the ground with prayer. It keeps the soil soft with hope. Eventually, the harvest comes. Galatians 6:9 reminds us, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for in due season we shall reap, if we do not lose heart." That's the key. Don't lose heart. When it looks like nothing is happening, don't lose heart. When people laugh at your faith, don't lose heart. When you're tired and the answer feels a million miles away, don't lose heart. God is at work even in the silence. He's building something stronger than feelings. He's building trust. One missionary told the story of how she prayed for rain during a severe drought. She lived in a remote village and crops were dying. People laughed when she said she believed God would send rain, but one day she walked out with an umbrella. The sky was clear. There wasn't a cloud in sight, but she said, "I believe God will send the rain today." By evening, clouds rolled in, and for the first time in months, the skies opened. That's the power of persistent faith. It prepares for the answer before it shows up. It lives in expectation. Faith isn't just belief. It's action based on belief. It's building the ark before the flood. It's setting the table before the guest arrives. It's praising before the walls fall. Persistent faith is forward-looking. It says, "I don't see it yet, but I know it's coming." Hebrews 11:1 says, "Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." Persistent faith lives in that tension. It holds on even when the evidence is invisible. It moves even when the path is unclear. Faith doesn't always feel strong, but it keeps going. Even mustard seed faith can move mountains. The enemy's goal is to make you quit, to convince you that God has forgotten. But God never forgets. He is the rewarder of those who diligently seek Him. Not casually, diligently, passionately, persistently. There's something about showing up every day, even when it's hard. Even when you feel like nothing is changing. God honors that. He sees the midnight tears. He hears the whispered prayers. He watches as you cling to Him with trembling hands. And He smiles, because that kind of faith is precious to Him. It's refined in the fire. It's tested in the wilderness. It's shaped in the waiting. And it shines like gold. One man shared how he waited for a job breakthrough for nearly 5 years. He had the skills, the experience, the faith, but doors kept closing. He battled discouragement. He questioned his calling, but he kept showing up. He kept trusting. Eventually, the right door opened. Not just a job, but the exact role he had prayed for, in a company that aligned with his values. Looking back, he said, "I wouldn't trade the waiting for anything. It taught me to depend on God like never before." That's what persistent faith does. It refines your perspective. It deepens your relationship with God. It roots your trust in His goodness, not your circumstances. God isn't looking for perfect faith. He's looking for enduring faith. Faith that stays. Faith that fights. Faith that keeps showing up. When Jesus returns, He asked, "Will He find faith on the earth?" He's not talking about loud faith. He's talking about lasting faith. The kind that's still praying, still hoping, still believing. Even when the world says, "Give up," you may feel weak. You may feel like your faith is barely holding on. But if you're still showing up, you're winning. Persistent faith isn't always pretty, but it's powerful. It moves mountains. It touches heaven. It changes you. So don't stop now. God is not done with your story. The breakthrough may be closer than you think. Keep trusting. Keep pressing. Keep believing. This is only part 1. The journey of persistent faith continues. God is faithful, and He will finish what He started. Sometimes, the hardest battles are not the ones we fight in public. They are the silent ones, the battles no one else sees. The long nights filled with tears. The mornings where you force yourself to get up and keep going. The days where you feel like you're praying into a void. And yet something deep inside refuses to quit. That's persistent faith. Not glamorous. Not loud, just faithful. Day by day. Step by step. Breath by breath. Persistent faith is forged in the fire of disappointment. It's shaped when prayers seem unanswered and doors stay shut. But through it all, it grows. It matures. It learns to walk by what God said, not by what you see. Do you remember the story of Elijah on Mount Carmel? He called down fire from heaven. But after that dramatic victory, he did something less flashy. He prayed for rain, and nothing happened. So he told his servant, "Go look toward the sea." The servant came back and said, "There is nothing." Elijah said, "Go again." 7 times. Each time the answer was the same, until the 7th time. The servant said, "I see a cloud as small as a man's hand rising from the sea." That tiny cloud was the beginning of a downpour. Elijah didn't give up at the first sign of silence, or the second, or the third. He kept praying. He kept sending the servant. He kept believing. That's persistent faith. It looks past the empty sky and believes rain is coming, even if all you can see is a faint cloud in the distance. Many people give up right before the breakthrough. They walk away when the cloud is still forming. They stop praying on the 6th time, but the blessing is in the 7th. The miracle is just beyond the moment of weariness. Persistent faith says, "I'll wait as long as it takes," because it trusts in God's timing, not our deadlines. One couple tried to have children for over a decade. Every test came back negative. They endured the heartbreak of miscarriages. Well-meaning people gave them advice that only deepened the pain. Still, they prayed. Still, they believed. Still, they waited. Then, in their 40s, they got the news. She was pregnant. The child was born healthy. And when they held that baby, they didn't just see a child. They saw every prayer, every tear, every silent night where they chose not to give up. Persistent faith doesn't erase the pain, but it carries you through it. It makes you strong enough to endure and soft enough to trust. Hebrews 10:23 says, "Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful." Sometimes, the only thing you can do is hold fast. Not because you feel strong, but because you know who your God is. Persistent faith remembers what God has done before. It rehearses past victories. It leans on testimonies. When David faced Goliath, he didn't just go in blind. He remembered the lion. He remembered the bear. He said, "The Lord who delivered me then will deliver me now." Faith grows when we remember. When we recount the ways God came through before. Even in your own life, there are victories you can revisit. Things you once thought were impossible, until God made them possible. Let those memories fuel your faith today. Persistent faith also finds strength in worship. When everything else is falling apart, worship holds you together. It may not change your circumstances instantly, but it changes your posture. It lifts your eyes. It softens your heart. It reminds you of who God is. There was a young woman who had lost everything in a house fire. Her possessions were gone. Her sense of safety shattered. But the next Sunday, she stood on the front row at church with her hands raised high, tears streaming down her face, and all she could say was, "You are still worthy." That's what persistent faith sounds like. Not denial, but defiance. A holy defiance that says, "I may be broken, but I'm not quitting." The enemy fears that kind of faith because it can't be manipulated. It can't be intimidated. It can't be bought or silenced. It is rooted in something unshakable, God's unchanging nature, His unfailing love, His eternal promises. Persistent faith knows that delay is not defeat. God often works in the waiting, not just to prepare the promise, but to prepare us. You may think you're just waiting on God, but sometimes He's waiting on you. Waiting on your heart to be fully His. Waiting on your character to match your calling. Waiting on your faith to be refined. The waiting is not wasted. It's doing a deep work. Don't rush it, embrace it. Let God shape you in the secret place. Persistent faith is also strengthened through community. We were never meant to walk this journey alone. There will be days when your arms are too tired to lift, when your heart is too heavy to pray. That's when others step in. Just like Aaron and Hur lifted Moses' arms in the battle, you need people who will lift yours. Friends who will pray when you can't. Brothers and sisters who will speak life over you. Mentors who remind you of the truth when you forget it. Persistent faith is not just individual, it's communal. We carry one another. We lift each other up. We remind each other of the promises of God. If you're struggling, don't isolate. Reach out. Share your burden. Let others help you hold on. Persistent faith is also practical. It shows up in daily choices, in obedience when no one is watching, in choosing integrity over shortcuts, in continuing to serve when no one notices, in forgiving even when the wound is still raw. in loving even when you don't feel loved in return. It's not always grand, but it's always grounded. It keeps showing up. It keeps doing the right thing, even when the outcome is unclear. Jesus modeled this kind of faith. In the Garden of Gethsemane, he prayed, "Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me." But then he added, "Yet not my will, but yours be done." That's persistent faith. It's not the absence of struggle, it's the surrender in the midst of it. It's trusting that God's way is better, even when it's harder. Persistent faith is not afraid of hard things. It doesn't flinch in the face of giants. It doesn't run from the fire. It walks through it, confident that there is another in the fire. The same God who was with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is with you. He hasn't left you. He hasn't forgotten you. He is closer than your next breath. And he is faithful. If you're weary today, take heart. You are not weak. You are a warrior. You're not losing. You're learning. You're growing. Every prayer you pray, every tear you cry, every act of obedience when no one sees, they matter. He sees, and he will reward. Persistent faith will be rewarded. That's not just a feel-good phrase. It's a biblical promise. Hebrews 11:6 says, "He is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him." Not casually. Diligently, that means even when it's hard, even when it's quiet, even when it costs you something. God is keeping track, not just of your performance, but of your persistence, and he will honor it. The answer may not come the way you expect. It may not come when you want, but it will come, because he is faithful. He finishes what he starts. You may be in the middle of the story, but the author knows how it ends, and he writes good endings. Your breakthrough could be one prayer away, one step of obedience away, one moment of surrender away. Don't give up now. Keep pressing. Keep believing. Keep walking. Your persistent faith is not in vain. It's not wasted. It's not unseen. It's building something eternal, something that storms can't shake, something that time can't wear down, a faith that endures, a faith that overcomes, a faith that pleases God. You may feel like you're at the end of your rope, but friend, tie a knot and hang on. God is with you. He is for you, and he will carry you through. Persistent faith is not about never falling. It's about getting back up. Again and again and again, until the promise becomes sight, until the prayer becomes praise, until the waiting becomes testimony. Keep going. The rain is coming. The breakthrough is near. Your faith is moving mountains, even if you can't see it yet. Keep trusting. Keep sowing. Keep expecting. Because those who wait on the Lord will never be put to shame. This is persistent faith. And this is your invitation to live it, to unlock its power, and to never let go of the one who never lets go of you. You are closer than you think. God is faithful, and he is not finished yet.